Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How are you guys doing this week? Yeah, you're right. January has blown past. I don't know where it went, but time still seems to be going pretty fast. So, yeah, the thumbnail, what is that little beast? That was, when the comment that one of you made that it looked photoshopped, that was my feeling. So there was a time when I used to sell scrap fur from Lynx and Bobcat, and then there was some issues with whether a Lynx was a Bobcat, and my venue banned Lynx saying Bobcat saying it was Lynx because of the species name, and it got all confusing. But I did actually do kind of a deep dive on Lynx versus Bobcat at the time some years ago because of that, and because I was trying to say, look, Bobcat is not endangered in any ways, and they're not the same as Lynx, and they look kind of similar, but they're not. And I did this whole write up to try to make my argument, but whoever was at the top was just like, no, and said Bobcat was endangered. And I'm like, they're not, because my venue doesn't allow selling of endangered animal parts, but I'm like, they're not endangered. So anyway, I did a deep dive on it back then, and I actually, as I sometimes do, just kind of go a little beyond and just check into things from my own curiosity. And I looked in a bunch of link stuff, and so when this image showed up on Reddit, I'm like, well, that's photoshopped. That's not what they look like, because I had researched these, and granted it was some time ago, but there's no way that I'm like they photoshopped that. So then I'm like, well, the Mandela, I better check into it. But I'm pretty sure this is Photoshop because it looks like half rabbit, and it's not. This is Canadian Lynx now. Now, the argument has come up that their paws are bigger in the winter. But you know what? I saw all winter, almost all winter lynx when I was looking into it last time, and I never saw anything like this. It's craziness for me. Their paws were, so back what I remember is that the lynx and the bobcat were very similar. And even in the descriptions, they would say, well, they're pretty close and they're highly related. The lynx have a little bit bigger feet, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, not like this. And they were a little bit furrier. So now there's a huge difference between them. It's interesting how this kind of works out. So I kind of been looking, it was interesting. First of all, the level of furry furs on their face and stuff, I think, have definitely upgraded. Now, I've talked before about these tufts they started out rather small. I don't remember this black in here. They're getting quite majestic. Possibly larger too. But the feet, oh my gosh, the feet. So you'll see there's actually quite a number of images that show similar feet. That these are not photoshopped. This is lynx now, Canadian lynx. There is actually other species of lynx. I don't remember originally there being other species, but there are two others beyond Canadian. So that's why I typed in Canadian here. But it looks like the Canadian are the ones with the big honkin' paws, too. As you can see again there. The other thing that we were looking at on the chit chat group was I don't remember the back legs being so much longer than the front legs. I remember them being a lot more like a bobcat. And it's interesting because then I'm trying to look, and so in that last image I showed, you can kind of see how tall the butt sticking up. But in a lot of the images that I'm looking for, it's kind of hidden because they have all these angles where either the lynx's back legs are all stretched out behind them instead of standing totally upright. So that leaves the flat back if you don't really notice this. But the last one had the butt sticking up, but it was a forward-backward view. That's the one I just had. It shows so you could see how high the butt is, even though this is in the back. So, but that kind of like makes it harder to see just because it's not a straight on angle. And then when you go looking, it's really hard to find any where they're standing normally. So it's a typical, I was just looking at this one yesterday. The one time when you might see it, but look, his front paws are on a higher ground than the back paws. So that kind of hides it. Most of these, the paws are also hidden in like brush or something, behind rocks. Very few can you actually see the whole feet. Well, it's just kind of interesting that it's like the one time, like here, again, you can kind of see that the front are a little higher ground, but it gives kind of the image. Let's see. Open image in new tab. I think this one's a younger one also. So to me, it's like they've become more jackrabbit. Like the legs have gotten really long. I just remember them more like an ordinary cat. See if I can even, I was looking the other day and I couldn't really find one where they're just a side view with them standing straight. There's almost like none. Like really none. Maybe we'll get that once you get used to the idea of these long legs, but this one kind of shows it. You can see that the butt now is way higher up here, and these legs still are not totally under the animal, but these tufts have gotten so long. So yeah, it's quite a different animal, and just kind of as a reminder, I will do a quickie on Bobcat so you can see. So what I remember is Bobcat and Lynx were much more similar. Okay, so there you got Bobcat. Open image in new tab. So for me, you just see like a little bit more fur around the ruff, and that was it. Oh, one thing that JoJo's had mentioned is on the Lynx. See if I could even find an image now. She doesn't remember this like extreme black tail on the Lynx either, which I am a little suspicious of. Like this, there was some black on the Lynx, but not like to that extent. And I think I had some Lynx fur tails somewhere. I'm gonna have to try to dig those out. I'm not sure if I still have them though. I might have just sold those, but I'm kind of curious if I still have them and if they will show this change with the extreme black tips there. You can see how long the legs are on those guys now. So yeah, anyway, I think changes do those. Head is too small for the body. Yeah, it looks photoshopped to me. It's strange to me. I mean, if it wasn't for the Mandela, I would have just blown that off as an obvious photoshopping. I'm like, oh, somebody's been having fun. All right, I'll change it to live chat. Here we go. Yeah, Rob, Bobcat, half rabbit. That's the way it looks like. Almost a cougar. Yeah, the cougars don't have those. They don't even have. Let's see what cougars are looking. I think cougars are still looking more cougar-like. Cougar. Otherwise known as mountain lion, last I checked, unless they're going to split those off. Now that I think about it, I should keep an eye on that. So we have our little cougars. Not little, I should say, but yeah, the body is looking kind of big from the head, even on those. Little more than I recall. Yeah, that is a good point, that the head does look a little small for me, even on these guys. Not in the same way. I do think the tail is longer. The body is just a little more built up. There's neater lines and stuff around the head, so more of a beautiful creature. But again, the feet more in balance, I would say. It does look like the head is strangely small, though. I wonder if the head is shrunk or the body has gotten bigger. Look at that tail. It's amazing. So I'll pull it over so you can see it. Beautiful long tails. So yeah, tails getting longer. I was noticing the elephants the other day. The trunk just drags on the ground. The trunks are so long. They used to kind of have to bend down a little to get their trunk down, but now it's just dragging. These things look like the fictional cat from the movie Watchmen. So maybe the Watchmen concept was kind of a harbinger. You know, you gotta wonder, people get these ideas like, okay, I've got to do some artistic thing here for this new movie, and stuff pops into your head, and like, where does it come from? You know, universal unconscious? Do you know on some deeper level? It is the year of the rabbit. Good point. Good point. So there was a weird thing I've never heard of before, too, is that apparently the Vietnamese don't have the year of the rabbit. They call it the year of the cat. And they were saying that it was because the word for rabbit and cat, the Chinese word for rabbit is similar to the Vietnamese word for cat. And there must have been some kind of confusion. And I don't know, I thought that was a little bit weird. I've never heard of that before. Glowing cats are more than before. Glowing cats. Does anybody remember Dick Van Dyke dying? Oh, I'm not sure on that one. Like I said, those are not my strong point on the dying celebrities. Unless it's like Ronald Reagan comes back or something. I just don't track it that well anymore. All right, let's see. Glowing cats. Let's just see what's up with glowing cats. Now, last I checked, that those were just like GMO, basically. We human created them. Glow in the dark kitty. All right, is that legitimately one? Yeah, it's just hard to tell what is legit. Is this supposed to, is that what they let's see, maybe this one will show it. One of the glowing cats created in Korea. So I don't really remember it being centered around the eyes and nose that much, this glowing cat's business, like this is. It kind of makes sense now that, you know, I'm seeing it, that that would be where the flesh shows. That one's kind of weird. But it's just hard to tell Photoshop and artistic license from the actual beast, especially these days. And then we just have a lot of images of, yeah, there's not much on here. I think most of these are, let's see if I can get a Google on it. The substance that makes the cats glow is green fluorescent protein, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the same. It's just weird because, like, it really looks more like it's just lit from the bottom. The tail's not glowing. The top of the head's not glowing. Did somebody just do an artistic license on that? And then what? There's no other images? Because if this is the glowing cat, then why is all of this other stuff also lit? I don't know. This is kind of weird. Did they just not glowing worth a darn and they didn't want to admit it? Then this one shows way more. 2 of the glow in the cats closed. That one is way shinier. So is that what they look like? Or did they just, you know, crank the settings on the camera to show it more? I don't really feel like I know what the current state of these are. So few images, you'd think there like could be a bajillion images of these glowing cats too. Okay, what's this? The real life Cheshire cat with glowing teeth. If you happen to see a glowing grin amidst the presence of a black light, it could be a real-life Cheshire cat. No. Okay, so this is natural. There is a real disorder that makes cats' teeth and all their other bones glow red under black light. I thought they were going to say it was some bacteria because the bacteria glow in the dark thing has been a real theme lately. Kennel assistants were working with a vet when a shelter brought in a special cat. The vet students recognized something about the animal's smile. The teeth look stained in regular light and they glow in black light. The kitten could eat regularly as far as I could tell. All right, so it had stained red teeth. The cat had a condition called erythropoietic porphyria, also observed in some farm animals and people. When a certain group of hemoglobin is defective, the body breaks down iron too fast. The animals are typically anemic and sensitive to the sun, and the broken down byproduct of iron are deposited in the skin and bones. This results in a reddish color. Only the bones, however, fluoresce. For some animals, with the exception of the deer family, teeth are the only bones you can see from the outside. Therefore, when Aylwin saw the cat under black light, she could clearly see the glowing teeth. Other animals that glow are mostly sea creatures. And then they talk about the gene splice cats. Okay. It sounds to me like we're heading towards glow-in-the-dark mammals. I've looked for this before. I couldn't find anything. But now we have this genetic disorder. I'm wondering if eventually they'll go with the Mandela, whoever they are. We'll go with some kind of bacteria in the mouth causing glow in the dark, because that seems the next step. This is interesting. Okay, so glowing cats. So for now, it's with the black light. But we've seen this before with the sharks. First, it was sharks had these glow-in-the-dark patterns with the black light. And then pretty soon it was just, they just glowed normally, not with the black light. So it seems like this is like stage 1 of the glowing, is that they do the black light business. Yeah, kitties glowing in the dark would be sort of defeat their hunting skills. I guess they would have to hunt during the day, huh? They would not be nocturnally effective anymore. A couple years ago when we were talking about glowing cats, there were not many images, and still aren't. It just seems really weird. You'd think that there'd be a million photos of these weird guys. Makes you think everything you imagine real in another reality in your... Yeah, I do wonder about that. If you are able to imagine it, maybe you're just, tuning into other timelines. I know a lot of writers always say that it feels like it has its own life, and that the characters they write themselves once they kind of tune in. So you do kind of have to wonder, or are you writing it and then it becomes real, or are the two things linked? I don't know. Was watching a documentary on the Canal du Midi in France, connecting the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Never in my past. I've never heard of that. Canal du Midi. Let's check it out. Okay, small canal. Huh, pretty. Wow. So that'd be awesome to live next to. Assuming it's not all stinky or something. It's got one of these weird bridges, like river bridges. Open a new tab. That goes right over. Oh, interesting. Whoops, not there. Does seem like this whole Venice concept just keeps expanding. Like Venice Beach in Los Angeles has a bunch of canals now. It was like basically nothing. It was a failed project in my old timeline. Now there's canals everywhere up there. All right, wait, I'm going to look at the web now. Let's see what the wiki has to say. It connects Garonne to Étang de Tau on the Mediterranean. South of France. Let me just see if I can find a map. Okay, so it only goes halfway, looks like. So does it really connect? It doesn't look like it connects, at least not yet. Okay, we do have water coming down from over here, but the canal is here. So is there like a normal river here maybe? And then this finishes the connection. I do not recall there being like a passage through there though. That's interesting. It's not like huge right now, but I do wonder. Ah, here we go. This one tells the story. All right, so Canal de Garonne is half, and then Canal du Midi is the other half. So there is a connection here now. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't recall anything like that. I can't swear that I would have known. Maybe other people in the area would have a better idea on that. Okay. Interesting, it has two different names, two different canal names. I mean, I would guess that they would maybe put them in at a different time, but I mean, really, if you're extending one canal, wouldn't you just call it like more of the same canal? This way, it kind of hides the fact that it goes through by saying this, oh, this one goes halfway, and people might not realize that it actually goes all the way through with the two different names. The French Canal is like the Panama Canal or the English channels 300 years before its time. Okay, let's click on Shari's little boobah here. Ah, can green glowing cats find a cure for AIDS? That grow fluorescent green with cells that resist infection from a virus that causes feline AIDS, a finding that may help prevent the disease in cats. I wonder how they get it to resist that infection. So my understanding of the story was that they would link this glowing gene up with other genetic changes, and then they could just observe if all the cells uptook the changes by seeing if they're glowing. So it's like a marker of effectiveness. Tests on cells taken from the cats show they are resistant to feline immunodeficiency virus, which causes AIDS in cats. Although that virus itself, FIV, is kind of weird because they used to say cats would die, and then after a few years, and then now they're like, well, a lot of them are not that sick and they can lead a normal life and blah, blah, blah. So the whole story of FIV also has changed. I've never known, knock on wood, a cat that was diagnosed with FIV and got sick and died from it. Some places around here don't even check anymore. Like, our cat hasn't been checked, but we've only got the one cat. It's not like I would like put him down if he had it, but if I ever did get another cat, I guess I would have to have it checked, I guess. But then what would I do? I don't know. It's just, let's see. In both humans and cats, proteins called restriction factors that normally fight off viral infections are defenseless against HIV or FIV. See, I don't see, like, people I've known whose cats were diagnosed with FIV. They all were healthy and lived normal lives. I'm not saying that's always the case, but it does not appear to be the case that they're actually defenseless against this. So it's kind of confusing for me. I used to hear that all the time, but yet people whose animals are diagnosed does not follow the suggested course of action. The part of Africa that meets the Mediterranean grew larger. Yeah, there's a big bump there. It keeps growing, and Africa is sliding to the west around Europe too, which is weird. Used to be for me that Africa was fairly underneath Europe. Glowing cats are now resistant to AIDS. Huh. So they're saying all of them are, because I do remember them saying that they would add the glow gene to see if their other projects worked, but I didn't remember them that all the ones that got the glow gene also had this anti-AIDS thing. I'm not even sure, like, how did they get the animal to be resistant? I think that's why there's been this huge thing with the AI art. If something looks too ridiculous to be real, everyone will just write it off as AI art. That definitely is going to put a huge kink in the works, because the AI art is fairly realistic. We've already had cases show up where, like, the Tartaria researchers have encountered some AI art, and gosh, this is way behind. Let's put this over here. Have encountered some of this AI art and been fooled and said, oh, look, hey, there's look at all these images of pyramids in Antarctica or something, and in Antarctica, and it was all AI art. So anybody can go to some AI program, and a lot of them are free, and just type in keywords, and you choose like the realistic. There's like some of them have options like I want a realistic look, so you choose the realistic output, and then just type in like snow, pyramid, mountains, or something, and it'll cough up an image for you just like that, like in seconds, 10 seconds. And a lot of them are quite realistic. So if you took that and you just you ran, like, then you could say, okay, do another one, and it'll come up with all these different versions for you. If you grab the more realistic ones and slap it on a post, people are probably going to fall for it. Now, eventually, hopefully, people will get a clue that you can't trust anything. But we're now to the point, like you said, where stuff like this shows up, like this links, and I was immediately thinking this was AI or Photoshop, and I had to go look. So I did, first I do look at the comments to see if anybody's exposed it, and then I look for myself. But it's getting confusing. If I had a glowing cat, I would take 1,000,000 pictures of it. Yeah, that's my feeling. I mean, I'd make a blog and everything, unless it doesn't glow very well and you can't really see it. But then there really should be like statements to that effect as well. I just saw a video look like mainstream media saying the Earth stopped and reversed its rotation. I just saw that like hours ago, but it wasn't the Earth. It was the core of the Earth. So somebody has come up with this theory that the rotating center core has changed directions. Now, we've had it on here that I don't really remember originally them even saying that there was a center core that rotated way faster. I just remember the Earth rotating, and the core rotating. Of course, it's faster because it's smaller in there. The outside roundabout is going to be, but I don't remember it rotating at a different speed than the rest of the Earth originally. That's, I think, the point I'm trying to get to. So a while ago, suddenly they have this theory that it's like a dynamo in there and responsible for the electromagnetic field, and all this stuff. So that was kind of a Mandela. And then at some point you go, well, how do they even know what's in there anyway? It's not like we dug down and looked. So now somebody apparently has come out with a theory that it's reverse direction. Other people are like, oh no, that we don't necessarily agree with that guy. Of course, the media just posts everything up as face value, confusing things even more. I don't know. So, you do have to wonder, all these people speaking and paranoid and fearful that the magnetic field might change direction. And then now we have the story that the core has changed direction. If the core is in charge of the magnetic field, wouldn't that have something to do with that? I don't know. It's interesting that the paranoia comes first, and then we see something in reality that's looks like it. It's like that Nibiru thing. First, a storyline came up that there's ancient legend says there's a 10th planet, and then a few years later, science are like, oh, maybe there's a 10th planet. It seems a little suspicious. Yeah, John Bernard Shaw, that's right. It was the core. Talk about glass beaches, the glass. Okay, yeah. I thought there was only the one glass beach over in Northern California last we checked. I know the pole reversal might trigger the flat earth people. Here's my take, though. In reality, we don't know if it's a simulation or some spirit realm or what. Yeah. I can't take any of the fear porn seriously when stuff just magically changes and Antarctica disappeared and the whole storyline about us floating on magma is now gone, and so it all just changes. So glass beaches. Yeah, okay, so glass beach. Let's see. How many are there? Beaches. I was suspicious when that first glass beach showed up, frankly. Because I live in California and I used to live up north and I never heard of Glass Beach. And supposedly it's been there since before my time in that area. It looks like there's a lot more of it too. These images show more glass than I recall last time. Glass Beach. I think it's spawning more glass. See if we can get top 50 Glass Beach rentals. Hotels near Glass Beach. Ten best glass beaches in the world. 7 sea glass beaches in the U.S. that are totally hidden gems. All right, I'm just going to try the U.S. ones. Fort Bragg, California. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm familiar with from last time. Prime spot. Absolutely covered in what so many search hours for. I believe it's protected now, last I checked. Since the beach is included in the state park, you aren't allowed to take any of the sea glass from the beach. Yeah, everybody does anyway. Spectacle Island. Okay, that doesn't look very glassy. Boston. Beautiful seashells and sea glass. Kauai Sea Glass Beach in Kauai, Hawaii. What they didn't show you in Moana was all the potential to see some sea glass on the beaches of Hawaii. The heart of Te Fiti did look a little like one of those colorful beaches. This serene spot is covered in color. Clear brown fluorescent glass finds. It's fairly unknown to the common tourists, so you'll want to take a hike to this hidden gem. Okay, that does look like a lot. It doesn't really say where it's from. La Jolla Cove and La Jolla? Are you serious? La Jolla Cove? La Jolla Cove is straight out of a postcard with the cliffs. Yeah, while you're on the lookout for sea glass, stop in some of the shops. La Jolla. I've been there. I don't remember seeing like more than 1 or 2 pieces. La Jolla. Sea glass. This is, if there really is a lot of glass, I'm going to be pretty shocked because I have never seen any beaches covered with sea glass. Does look like quite the find. Okay. All right, I'm not seeing a lot. Not yet, I don't think. Is it a big deal? Maybe it's incubating. Okay. Can't really tell what that is. I'm not sure what's going on here. Did somebody say we need to have 7 beaches and they just came up with some stuff? San Juan, Puerto Rico? I guess that's Del Monte Beach in Monterey. I don't see any sea glass on there. That's not sea. Jasper Beach in Machia Sport. That doesn't even look like Jasper. Okay, so the rest of these suck. All right, let's see what we have globally here. 10 best sea glass beaches in the world. So it looks like we have 2 in Cali, and this one is... That's the one we just saw, Fort Bragg. So the story I remember for that Fort Bragg one is not that it was part of a national, like a national park, but they just banned grabbing it. So I don't know if they've just recently added it, but Davenport Beach is in California. Okay, I don't really see a lot of sea glass there. This one's interesting. What's this one? Grant Park Beach in Wisconsin. You don't need an ocean to make perfect. This secret, or now not so secret spot on Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan rewards beachcombers with all types of sea glass. Oh, plus bottle stoppers, marbles, and smooth pottery shards, which are collected by many. All right, there's a ton on there. Lake Michigan. Okay, interesting. I have not heard of the Lake Michigan one, and there is a ton on there. Ireland has one. Okay, it doesn't look too exciting. That one doesn't look too exciting. I don't remember one. Okay, this one looks exciting. Morocco. Okay, they do look a little sharp, some of them, but Vladivostok, Russia. Don't see too much there. Okinawa. I don't see. If I don't see a picture of a ton of glass, I'm not trusting it. But this Michigan one, Michigan, it's not really sea glass, I guess, if it's lake glass, but. Anybody near Michigan, have you heard of like this Michigan sea glass place? Let me see what the history of it is. So they're saying it takes 30 years to make sea glass. So it couldn't have just shown up like yesterday. Michigan beach glass. Where is it and where does it come from? Man, there's a bunch of junk on this webpage. Mostly glass from discarded items aboard ships, blah, blah. Okay, so the story for the California one is that there used to be a glass plant there, and that's where it came from. So if Michigan just has a ton but no story, now granted these don't look as polished as ours, but that image I saw of the Michigan glass, that stuff did look polished. That there's just one piece. That one's highly smoothed, frosted. So did they just snag an image from somewhere else? Because these are just showing one piece. It's not a big whoop. It really looks like it's the same piece over and over almost. There's that, yeah. So maybe it's not a good spot. I don't know. It's growing into a good spot. It's a good spot in some timeline. Or they spent all morning collecting and that was their final haul. That could be more like it. That might be more like it for now. I don't know. Watch this space then with the Michigan. It just seems kind of weird that they're calling it a sea glass pad, and it doesn't really seem like it is, or is it? All right. There was so many. All right. Let me look at Shari's location here. All right. I think I was already there. Okay, so what I'm seeing of interest is this Kauai Kauai sea glass. That one is of interest. It looks legit. And the Fort Bragg one, what's this one? The Vladislavok one, that looks like a significant pile. Okay, the Vladislavok one is from former porcelain factory, so there's a storyline there. Davenport, located north of Santa Cruz. Legendary among stained glass collectors. A massive flood sent containers of Lundberg Studios' blown glass trimmings down in the San Vicente Creek into the sea to wash up on the shores. Though not as abundant as it once was, this sea glass remains some of the most beautiful in the world. No, there was only one in California. This is baloney. Just north of Santa Cruz. And, you know, we used to go to Santa Cruz Beach all the time. This is like, yeah. All right, Ireland sea glass story. Okay, this is a good, there are a couple more, definitely. So we've got two in Cali now. The Davenport. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Shari. There's something up with all these. All right, so those glowing cats, apparently they're saying right now that their teeth are stained reddish from the iron byproducts or something, which could also become an interesting story. You've got cats with red teeth that glow in the dark. In the old movie, three guys named Mike. The VIP was a chemist studying bioluminescence. Yep. Reagan's first wife thinks Van Johnson, the chemist, is bioluminescent. I don't think I understand that. I don't know Van Johnson, so I don't know if this is a movie or reality. But yeah, I agree. There was just the one glass beach where there was an old glass plant, and even then I was a little suspicious of it. So, you know, colorful stuff like that. I wonder if we might get some like natural ones eventually. There is an island in Persian Gulf belonging to Iran. It used to be a very small and nobody lived on it. Now it's huge with villages on it, and there's a red, black, gold sand beaches there. Huge Mandela. I am really not surprised. We're just seeing these like islands and little enclaves popping up that belong to some other country way over here, and then this is the, so there just seems to be like this kind of concept of separate enclaves of society that have their own sort of smaller governments, and they're out of, so as much as we hear everybody terrified of the New World Order and the WEF and global domination, but what we're seeing actually show in reality is very like more libertarian type of enclaves coming up. So I think it's very interesting that we get like this one storyline, like a fear porn storyline, but then what actually shows is the opposite. So we get the fear porn storyline that animals are becoming extinct, but we're seeing is new animals showing up and becoming more and more populous. God, I look weirdly green right now, don't I? How come the cameras... I'm not sickly and green in real life. Yeah, look, it's making me look green. That's weird. I'm not green, okay? I just saw myself. I'm like, something looks off. Okay. Yeah, see there. Nope, that is not my color. I think it's something that the computer's doing because I have my normal lighting on. So it must be somehow interpreting me as, and you can see the wall behind me looks strangely green too. Huh, weird. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I have not turned green. It's it's not a Mandela. All right. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. Is that part of reality generation that people, scare people into something and then they wish for the opposite and then the opposite grows? Like they wish, oh, please save all these poor animals, and then we get more animals. Please don't let the global new world order take over, and then in reality we get the opposite. I'm not sure on that. So maybe that's why there has to be all this fear porn, because the fear porn does it like kind of kick back. Do a whole bunch of people fearing the New World Order are actually going, please let there be more freedoms, please let there be more freedoms, and then they actually grow in a certain way? Sorry, Ghosty333, about your family member with the liver issues. We can definitely pray for that person's health improvement. Of course, in the end, I think everybody chooses their own path. So we may have to accept that is the path that on some level they did choose. As painful as it is. Where's this libertarian enclave? Dang, what was it? There was a couple, let's see. So they're tiny right now. And they were ones I hadn't really heard of that much. Just little bitty places, but I suspect that they will grow similar to how most libertarian towns. Liberal, no. Nations, let's try that. Wait, this is a lie. If I see England, the most libertarian nations, and they have England, all right, that it's a lie. That is complete baloney. I'm sorry. England is the nanny state of, well, one of them of the world. England has many nice things, but libertarianism, no. Darn it. Oh, there is this interesting project in New Hampshire. Libertarians are trying to take over New Hampshire. New Hampshire has like the least, like it's low in population and it leans more libertarian. So they're trying to get libertarians to move their countries in the world. Let's try that. Canada, that's baloney. All right. I don't know where I saw this. It was on some New Zealand. New Zealand is so not libertarian. This is complete baloney. There was some like actual thing put on by actual libertarians, not like whatever this fantasy island thing is. And sure as heck not New Zealand. I'll have to find it again, but there were some little enclaves that have shown up that are fairly heavily libertarian, like just less rules. There, of course, you can't go around killing people. It's not the purge, but very business friendly. Are my ET genes showing? Yeah, I'm glowing. I'm glowing in the dark. I'm glowing green. I don't know what happened. I don't know. It might be this computer just can't even keep its crap together. Yeah, I'm looking very green. Am I not? I don't know what the heck has happened. Maybe if I reboot the computer, it'll get fixed. But money grow. Well, see, the problem with money growing on trees is money is a supply and demand thing. So if you print more money or grow it, then the value of the money drops, and then you have rampant inflation. So, you kind of have to earn it. You can't really, unless you're the only one that can grow it. It takes so much time running appointments and ER visits. Yeah, it's, the system is just so insane with just how much, it's like a full-time job just managing the hospital situation and rides and stuff. When my mom had the cancer, it was like that too. It's like, I don't know how anybody could have a job and then still be doing that. It's just the system is just so ridiculous. Yeah, I'm glowing. I'm like, I must be a glow in the dark cat. I've got the green bioluminescence according to, it's funny that it happened today. I just looked over here. I'm like, the heck, I'm green. It looks like it's getting worse too. Okay. Oh, and speaking of New Zealand, on one of the things, okay, I'm sure many of you heard about a week and a bit ago, Jacinda Ardern has said that she will step down. Okay, so she's what do you call it? The prime minister, I think, is the word they use for the leader of New Zealand. So the thing that got me is I was looking at her, all these images of her, and she has been in the news a lot because of the New Zealand's stringent lockdowns and stuff, and lockouts. And I thought that, she has those prominent front teeth, so there were a lot of jokes about her teeth. I really, really thought that it wasn't just that she had big front teeth. I really remember there being a big gap in between the teeth. And I remember seeing these rather mean jokes showing the gap as so big that horses could go through it, and being like a gate. And, there was all this kind of like memeing about the giant, not only her big teeth, but that they were like a big gate with a fence, and so the gap between the teeth in the front was part of the joke. I don't know, does anybody else remember that, or is it just me? Because I really thought she had this huge gap in the front of her teeth. I mean, it wasn't huge, but definitely enough to be made fun of if you already didn't like her and you had that propensity, like a very prominent space. So I don't know. Does anybody else remember that, or is it just me? She's only 36 years old with liver failure. Wow. So she got the arm pokety. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't know. So many people getting sick now. And, I don't know if it's the shifts, the shots, that's all linked. I said before, it seemed like a lot of people are dying in 2019 as well. But they weren't from flu stuff. So you could say it was early COVID, but no, it was, all kind of weird accidents, all kind of weird stuff. Okay, Eliani remembers the gap. Yeah. All right, Ghosty remembers the gap. So, yeah, I was just looking at her, and at first I saw one image of her. I also am a little suspicious about the last name having changed a digit. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't quite remember her last name. For a long time, I'd been calling her Jacinda, and a lot of people have. I'm not even sure if it's Jacinda or Cinda, but... so I saw an image of her, and I'm like, oh, well, they photoshopped it. Because that does happen when official photos are released, that they'll photoshop it. So, like, a lot of official photos of Joe Biden do not have his weird lower earlobes. He has these funky lower earlobes, and they Photoshop them out. So I'm like, okay, well then Jacinda, they just Photoshopped out. But no, I looked, and that gap is gone. There is zero gap now in her front chompers. There's I can't find any images showing any gap. But I actually really remember these really mean memes that showed it like a giant gate, her teeth, and it was because of that giant gap. So I don't know, in this timeline she had better braces as a child. It freaks me out though. There are no images of that gap. It's gone. It is gone. She just didn't have it. So it's interesting because I don't think it wasn't that long ago that I saw one of those memes of our giant front tooth gap, and it's gone. There's no memes like that. There's still memes about her teeth looking like a horse, but not with the gate. The gate. See, there is nothing. And I looked and looked, and I'm like, no, it is just not there. So I don't know. Their teeth actually look better too. I mean, I don't know if these are just, fake teeth now in this timeline or what? Like she had, what do you call it? Veneers, something like that. So yeah, you can clearly see it's just not there. There is not even any sign of it, and never has been. So it's kind of interesting. It wasn't that long ago that I saw that gap, and then she announces her stepping down, and then the gap is gone. Is this a different Jacinda than the old timelines or whatever? Austin remembers the gap. Yanni is not sure. Oh, president. Okay, she's president. She's not prime minister. I can't remember what they call them over there. Remember Sears and J.C. Penney. Sears. What? Sears isn't Sears anymore? I do remember J.C. Penney without the E, along with the gap. The gap. I remember Sears. It's not Sears. What are you saying? It's not Sears anymore? Okay, Sears is in bankruptcy. I don't know if they're all gone. It used to be when places went bankrupt, they would be gone. Okay, no, it's still spelled Sears though. Now they just go bankrupt, but they're not gone. Are all Sears stores closed? Kind of curious now. And that used to always be the case, but now weirdly they sort of reorganize. Sears is closing all remaining hometown stores. Closed its last locations in these states. How many stores are left? There are 18 of these Sears stores remaining. So there's still some left. Yeah, they're not gone. So I'm wondering if in some timelines they're not. I don't know. It just seems interesting to me that they never completely disappear anymore. Oh, no, Jacinda Ardern is the prime minister. Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I'm not really an expert on New Zealand politics. I probably wouldn't even know a thing about it if it hadn't been for all this pandemic business. Yeah, no, there's still some open now. Just like I think there's still Blockbuster videos now. For a while, there was only that one in Canada. And then they said that one was going to close and it was the last one. But then suddenly there was one somewhere else that never closed. And that was the last one. So it's like the last one, it never extinguishes anymore. Let's see. Let me see if there's any still open. Are any Blockbusters still open? Yes. So the last one keeps moving. maybe some of us deep inside just don't want to have them all gone because we have memories of it, and that's why one has to hang on. In 2022, the final Blockbuster store was still standing, and you can find it in Bend, Oregon. I believe that is the same story as last time. A couple times ago, the last one was it Canada? I think it was Alaska. Yeah, it was Alaska. The last one was in Alaska and still standing. And then now that was the second to last one, and this one in Oregon is the last one. So yeah, I thought they went bankrupt, but yet there's still one. Don't ask me anymore. All right, I'm not gonna talk too much about politics for obvious reasons. And even though I'm not a big fan of Jacinda, you know, don't really intend to go for the looks thing. I'm only bringing it up because her appearance has changed, and the nasty memes are one of the reasons why I remember that giant gap. So, you know, if she was if she was more along my favorite politics, then I, of course, and this is true with everybody, suddenly you wouldn't mind her giant teeth and her gappy teeth, you know. So I don't like to go with the whole looks thing. The issue is behavior and ethics, and that's where my concern is. All right, let's see what we got here. I got you. This is kind of a personal one, but so I do sell, some of my stuff that I sell are these things called gar scales from this gar fish. So these have been around for quite some time for me. And basically there was one fish that had, I remember them being bones, okay? They would call it a bone, like they had a bony scales. They call them bones. They were like bone. So they have these scales that are just basically, if you look at them, they're hard like a bone. And when they're off of the fish, they look like this. And so some of them are pretty big. Now, I really feel like gar have been getting bigger and bigger, and they can now get like 10 feet long, okay? And so the 10-foot long gar have really long scales. I've been trying to get my clutches on some of these because people catch these gar. Now, weirdly, they used to say that gar tasted terrible. Lately, they're saying, oh no, they're actually pretty tasty, and they're poor man's lobster, and that people were just too lazy to cut through these scales and get at them. But now there's people explaining how to get through. I'm like, if you had a 10-foot long fish that when boiled with a little bit of spice lobster, I would think that considering the price of actual lobster, some people would put in the effort to cut through these scales and get at that lobster. So I really wonder if maybe gar are actually altering to be both bigger and tastier, because they were always considered a junk fish, and now suddenly they're poor man's lobster. And there's all these comments from people saying they're tasty if prepared in certain ways, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, so anybody goes, so apparently you get these gar fish are captured quite often, and I think these dark ones are fossils here. If anybody you know hunts gar and gets the big ones, like another storyline is that they were used by the Native Americans for like hunting and stuff. So they're rather sharp, these scales on the one end too. They're rather pokety, and if you polish them a little bit, I think they would be even more pokety. I definitely wouldn't want to be stabbed with one of them. So if anybody knows anybody that hunts gar and gets like the big gar, and they can get me like the big scales, like 1.5 inch or larger, like more like 2 inch or larger, feel free to contact me, because I will buy the scales off of you if you want to. So these big gar would have a lot of scales on them too. Now, weirdly though, I've been selling these a long time, and I have not been able to find anything larger than about 1.5 inch, although supposedly they exist. So I don't know what the deal is. I've even I've attempted to contact fishermen who claim that they can get a hold of these giant scales, and I offer them money, and they're all excited, and then they ghost me. So seems to me if you're already hunting gar and you've already got them on the beach, you would pull off some scales and make some bucks, because a big 10-foot long gar should have tons of these scales, but yet no. So I don't know what's up with that. But so why is this weird? Okay, first of all, they're now saying that these scales are like teeth. They're made out of dentine, like teeth are. I remember it being bone, but now it's dentine. Okay, I don't remember gar being 10 feet long, but okay. I'll show you what a gar. They already look weird. I don't remember them being as common as they are. Here's a tiny one, but that's kind of more like what I remember them as, tiny. Or like middle size, not like Giganosaurus. It confuses me a little because I don't see the scales on here. Like, they don't look like what I end up with, so I don't exactly know how that works. Now, I had seen ones this size, but that was kind of about it. But yeah, apparently now they get 10 feet long. I also don't remember the yellow. Now they're starting to get these colors on them, as many of the fish are becoming more pretty. So for me, the freshwater fish were almost universally ugly, blah-colored fish. All right, so we have, you can see they're getting rather large here. So if anybody hunts these gar, I mean, that looks like an alligator or something. Looks like the scales are pretty big on here. If you can get me like 2-inch or larger scales, I will buy them off of you. Can send it in a PayPal or whatever. But another thing that's weird now is that they were the only fish that had these bony scales. And I had looked because, I sell gar scales fairly often, and people are always looking for the big ones. So now I look into them, and let's see, wiki. And I don't remember there being 4 kinds of fish with them. So they're calling these things ganoid scale. I don't remember. Oh, that did not bring me where I wanted to go. Let's try here. I remember just gar and then maybe sturgeon, but I'm a little suspicious of the sturgeon as just having a few spines along the top. But apparently now sturgeons have some kind of bony scales. I tried to find some clear images of these sturgeons, ganoid scales. I couldn't find them. I saw images of sturgeons, but not of the scales. Okay. And then they're also saying that along with the gars and the sturgeons, there's also paddlefish, bowfin, and birchers. And there's the birchers. There's the bowfins, which look a lot like birchers. And then there's paddlefishes. And when I went to paddlefishes, I was like, what in the hell? These things are big. They are freshwater, but they look like salt water. I have never seen them before. And they have bony scales, which are actually dentine, teethy scales these days. So paddlefish. And they're not small fish, as you will see here. These are freshwater. They're located in a lot of places. They have this weird nose thing. And some of the end-on images, they open their mouth and you can see down inside like whales. You know how some of them now, the whales have this huge gaping maw and then you can look all in there. So here we go. These also have that. See if I can get it to go over. There we go. So look at that. So they have this gaping maw thing going on here. These are paddlefish. So supposedly they also have these ganoid dentine-like scales, but I couldn't find any images of these ganoid scales. You would think that somebody would, yank some off or something, but no. So I don't know if, the universe hasn't finished finalizing, like, where are these scales on this paddlefish? I don't see anything that looks like bony scales on there. So am I waiting for those to show up in reality? If anybody could get their clutchy paws on some of these scales. I tried doing a hunt for ganoid scales, and all I found were images of the gar scales. That was it. So maybe still pending here. Let's see if this one shows anything that looks like bony scales. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. So paddlefish. Oh, there was another weird thing too. One of these animals, which one was it? Oh, the bowfins. So one thing that was weird is that on the ganoid scales, it says bowfins have them. But then when you go to the bowfins, ganoid scales are found in sturgeons, paddlefish, gars, bowfin, and birchers. Then you go to bowfin, and it says that it has this other kind of scale. I'm going to double check, but last night it still had this other kind of scale. Let's see if I can. So, find. So, can people not? The scales of bowfin differ in that they are not ganoid scales. They are large single-layered cycloid scales, closer in similarity to more derived teleos. So, you go to their bowfin, and it says their bowfin listing says not ganoid scales, even though they were supposedly related to the other fish. So I don't know what, just a goof in the wiki, or are they going to be ganoid scales in the near future? I don't know. The bony scales of Thelodonts, the most abundant form of fossil fish, are well understood. The scales were formed and shed through organisms' lifetimes, blah, blah, blah. I think that's historical one. Okay. So anyway, yeah, the point I'm trying to get to is that, first of all, what in the hell are these giant paddlefish thing, and they're creepy. Second of all, gars apparently are tasty, like poor man's lobster. And third of all, way more of these creatures now have these weird bony dentine teeth-like fish or scales, fish scales. And you guys fishing, get me some big gar scales or any of these other kind of cool scales. I'd appreciate it. And I will pay you. Like a sturgeon endangered for the very first time. I like that. You're making a play off of Madonna's Like a Virgin. I like that one. It's weird how big goldfish are, and now they're so invasive. I don't even trust the invasive thing anymore, because they say something is invasive, and then like 10 years later, it becomes it's naturalized, and then 10 more years later, and it was always here. And they always say it's going to take over and wipe out the native population, but the native population somehow always just stays. Mustard Seed of Faith does not remember Jacinda having the tooth gap. A lot of movies take place in Oregon or towns of the same name as towns around me. Oh, that's kind of weird. There might be some kind of story that Oregon has like cheaper filming laws, but still it is interesting. Sears Home and Life is still open in Anchorage, Alaska. Overland Park, Kansas. So it's like everything that goes bankrupt, there's still one or two stores out there somehow. It just never used to be that way. Once they were bankrupt, they were gone. So many bioluminescent animals. Yep. See, Vivian, that has also made me curious because the story is that everybody used to think lobster were junk food, garbage food. Well, I'm just wondering if maybe they actually were when they came out. There's these bottom feeding, spongy things. And the kind of storyline is that scavengers don't taste good and lobsters were scavengers. And then at some point, like people said they tasted good. Well, why would that be? I mean, I don't think human taste buds changed like naturally to that extent that you would taste a lobster and think it tasted bad and then later suddenly think it tasted good. So either human taste buds changed or lobsters changed. And I have seen that the snow, was it snow lobsters, the ones they have at my local store, even like the way the claws are and everything and the coloration have changed in recent years. Did Madonna lose her gap? That's right. Madonna had a little gap too. Madonna. Younger years. Let's see if she had it. Because she could have had it changed now, but when she was younger, there shouldn't be a change backwards unless it's Mandela style. So she didn't have a big gap, but I do remember her having a little gap. That may be gone too. So if that's actually her, well, you can't. It's interesting because you can't quite see the teeth there, can you? The very thing you want to know about. Okay, here we go. Looks like there's still some gap there. Yeah, there's still some gap there. Damn. Huh. I have to say, I don't recognize that face at all. That's interesting. Wow. Why are they all black and white? Huh. Dang, so, in recent years, she's had a lot of work done and stuff. I don't remember her looking like this when she was younger. I don't even recognize this person as, like, especially the eyes. She has these very exotic eyes in here. I just don't remember. Dang, I don't even recognize this Madonna. Dang. Wow. Okay. Well, her tooth gap's there, but I don't recognize the rest of her. That old Madonna is like totally different than because I had seen Madonna without makeup before, and that's not what she looked like. Yeah, she looks crazy now, but maybe she just always looked different now. Maybe it's hiding that. I don't know. Yeah, everything could have come from another place, but the trouble is even the storylines going way back changed. So, for 10 years, the story is something's not natural and it just showed up. And then suddenly there's stuff from 30 years ago about them always being there. So, how does that work? Okay, so got that. Got that one. I talked a lot today. All right, I got two left, and these are from you guys. One is Thomas Larson came up with this one called, have you guys ever heard of Convict poker? God, this stuff like this just seems like it would have been in like covered in so many different movies and so many different newses of the weird, and there seems to be a lot of weird prison stuff now, but there's a thing called convict poker. I don't even really understand it. Let's see. Wait, no, this is just images. I need to go to the actual. And this is also weird because it's like, it says it takes place in Angola, and then you think it's in like the, another country, but no, it's in Angola, and they call it the Angola Prison Rodeo, but it's in Louisiana. So it's Louisiana, so it's the USA. So they have this like rodeo for prisoners and stuff, and one of the things they have is convict poker. See if I can find it. So that, I believe, is the convict poker. How is this even legal? So supposedly you have a poker game in the middle of the arena, and then you release this wild, angry bull into the arena, and then he plows into the poker players, and the last one that's still playing, like, wins? But, like, how do you, so that's this image, I guess, is the bull is plowing into the poker players. I just feel like this is so weird. And you don't win by winning in poker. You win by, like, being the last to be wailed on by the bull. Apparently. Here's another image of it. How would this not be like a thing you ever heard of, okay? So there's all these images of these. So in recent years, supposedly, they added this helmet. Like, that's really gonna, and like a Kevlar vest, like that's gonna stop you from being, like, your lungs ripped out by a bull like this. And there's plenty of images of, so this guy just went down because this bull just trampled him. So are these guys, I don't think, are actually playing poker for real then, if you're just wondering if the bull is going to flatten you like a pancake. How is this allowed? How is this legal that you would have convicts in front of a bull? That is, the plan is for this bull to run these people over. There's more images. Like, if the bull goes through the center, how do you know who won? How come there's not like 100 dead guys from this event? Well, that's not a very good image. It's so weird. All right, I'm trying to find the one with the convict poker. All right. All right, convict poker. 4 inmate cowboys sit at a table in the middle of the arena playing a game of poker. A bull is released with the sole purpose of unseating the poker players. The last man remaining seated is the winner. These are the events, okay? All right, so some of these, 4 angry bulls with riders on top are released simultaneously. The last one to not fall off wins. 6 untrained horses are simultaneously released into the arena with short ropes dragging behind them. 3-man teams attempt to grab the ropes and hold the horse long enough for a team member to mount. Guts and Glory. A chit, poker chip, is tied to a Brahma bull. The object here is to get close enough to the bull to snatch the chip. I don't know. How could this not have been heard of? It seems highly weird to me that this is happening in the United States. They have a I don't know. It doesn't sound like any rodeo that anybody really wants to be in. You don't win a lot. And apparently they make hundreds of thousands of dollars on this show because they invite all of the public and they all have to pay for tickets and stuff. That didn't look like Madonna. I know. I don't see any images of young Madonna that look anything like I remember her looking like back then. Madonna says she's taken over by Madam X when she sings now. Weird and creepy. Yeah, that's weird. Her real name was not Madonna in my past. Yes, I agree with you. And actually, I didn't check lately at all about her old photos. So maybe she's been different looking for a long time now, but I heard about the prison rodeo last year. Very bizarre. So they're not really treated like kings because they don't get much for this, and it sounds like they could like die really easily. So it's not exactly that. Prison makes a boatload of money and they keep most of it. So I wouldn't say that they're treated like kings exactly. Getting like wailed on and possibly killed by a giant Brahma does not sound like my idea of a good time. That's the Mad Max timeline. Yeah, seriously, I don't know what's going on, but I just don't see how this would ever be legal in my old timeline. Okay, so I got one more. And this one is, okay. So this person has been commenting for a while. Username Butthole Winker. But I thought it was Butthole Winker 69 for obvious reasons. Like the whole name was kind of like porn. But now the name is Butthole Winker 34. Now, I don't know if he's changed his name and it used to be 69 or what. I don't know, but I swear to God, it used to be 69. And I just remember very recently commenting that the whole thing sounds like porn, but now only the first half sounds like porn. Okay. So this one comes from said person. Oops. My fingers apparently are not laid out. There we go. Okay, so as a rock hounder, we did have concretions, which are like weird formations that are sort of like egg or round shaped rocks. I've only ever heard of them forming in kind of a soil-like environment. So there'd be like kind of crumbly soil and maybe small rocks, and then these concretions would be in there. Kind of like when you hunt for geodes, they're usually in some kind of sandy-ish, powdery-ish, or at least gravel-like environment. I've never heard of them developing in solid rock like this. And I've never heard of this term, egg-laying cliffs. Strange cliff face appears to lay eggs every 30 years. So right now there's not many of these, and there's like they don't drop many. So the storyline is kind of straightforward, is that somehow this, see, it looks like the same stone is here to here. That's what kind of gets me. I haven't seen like this before. But somehow the stone here is different, and somehow it formed an egg, and then every now and then the egg falls. Now, this is kind of weird because this looks like a pretty big stone, but they're saying that they're, fairly small, and they'll say the cliff lays an egg like once every 30 years, like just one apparently. But then I see these images, and there's a lot of them in there. They're very round. They look like the same material as that. That's what's kind of getting me. That's what I have as a rock hound. I've never seen an image like this where there's just round shapes sticking out of solid rock like that. Mystery of the cliff that lays egg-shaped stones baffles scientists may have been solved. I've just never even heard of it. Shows the stone spheres on the egg-laying cliff in China. The so-called egg-laying cliff regularly produces large round rocks as heavy as 606. Whoa, this is a whole different size. I was looking this up earlier, and they were just saying they were small. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I didn't get the right info, but it was really saying they were small. As heavy as 660 pounds. Okay, so my old story is, it looks like big cobbles. The story used to be that cobbles were formed because a big rock would fall in the river and get tumbled along until all the edges were polished off, and it was basically a giant tumbling machine, and 150 years in the river tumbling around and getting sandblasted would cause it to be smooth. But this is like a whole nother thing. It's just kind of coming out of the cliff like this. It's an area measuring 220 meters long, 66 feet, and 6 meters wide, 20 feet, on an unnamed mountain in the village. Stone eggs would reportedly grow from the cliff face and eventually drop to the ground. I mean, are these actually pushing out, or is some of the cliff face falling, exposing these round things? I'm going to guess that they're going to claim it's the second one of these, that the eggs are being exposed over time. The video said when journalists arrived, some of the eggs had just started to grow while others seemed to be ready to drop. Okay, there's a bunch of the stones. There are more than 100 families, and they had reportedly collected more than 100 stone eggs. They believe that objects would bring good luck. Possible explanations. The stone eggs were lumps formed by calcium carbonate molecules in the deep sea 500 million years ago, blah, blah, blah. And because mudstone, which forms in mountains, weathers more quickly than the lumps, it appears that the cliff is giving birth to eggs. Okay, so that would be my theory that I put forth already. Hey, I'm not even a geologist, but even I could think of that. A similar phenomenon has been observed in Baidahe, North China, and Xinjiang, Northwest China. Okay. Whatever, I don't know. It's just a theory so far. It doesn't seem to me like, can't they just test the hardness of one of these stones and then test the hardness there? And then, I don't know. This just I don't get what made these round things, but even more so, I just should have seen this as a rock hounder, and having studied concretions seems a bit sus to me. But I think that's everything for today. So that one came from Butthole Weaker 34, possibly previously 69 in some timeline, unless he changed it himself. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. It's all my weirdness. I didn't look, these I found these pretty easily, and you found some of them. I didn't look too hard this week. Especially once I find a front page or a thumbnail image, then 660 pounds, give or take 6 pounds. I swear I was looking earlier and they said they were like this big. So I was like, I don't know. GoC333 is also a rock hounder. Good job. This world looks more and more like an Idiocracy movie. Yes, every day. So these aren't officially geodes, because geodes usually have like kind of a rind and some kind of crystal or agate center. So they're not just like a round rock. So concretions then wouldn't have like agate or crystal or anything. But in my experience, if you get a concretion, it will have like different layers. Usually there'll be sort of like a rind of one kind of stone, and if you cut into it, you'll see. But a lot of times they're just like sandstone all the way through. They don't have any cool stuff in the center. So an actual geode would have an open pocket with some pokey crystals inside, and that's what they would call a geode. There would be a space in there. And then if it was solid agate, they would call it a thunder egg. But the name over time has gotten pretty flippity-floppity and loosey-goosey. So a lot of times they would call even the solid agate ones a geode. But the ones that had like nothing exciting inside, they would just call those concretions. And but I've never seen any like that. So these what I would say were concretions. But what gets me is we don't know what's inside these. They're calling it concretions, but there's no cut pieces, broken pieces, nothing to say, if it's a concretion or what. So I think this is still forming in the timeline anyway, so we don't have much information on them yet. Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're giant fossilized eggs or something. I don't know. Who the heck knows? So normally eggs would all be the same size, right? Because creature usually has only one size of egg. But I don't know. The timeline is so weird. Anything could show up. Nobody forced us to come here. We were volunteered. I tend to suspect so, but I certainly at times are going like, why did I volunteer for this? I don't know. Everything is theory. So, maybe this was a better route than my other alternative. Maybe, hopefully I'm here for some good cause. One likes to think so. Am I just wishful thinking? I don't know. Just try to make the best of whatever it is all I really know how to do, for sure. I mean, certainly I have my theories, but anyway, so swallowed by a black hole. I don't know what is even a black hole. It's all full of white stuff now and emits light. The black hole emits light. You can't make this stuff up. If I volunteer to be here, I need to have a talk with myself. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe if you were told all the reasons, then you would agree, You don't know all the stuff. I don't know. All right, well, I'm pretty much done. Kids make it all worth it. Hopefully. All I know is if we're going to be here, we might as well do our best, with what we got. Nuclear holocaust and the Sagittarius arm. Could be. I don't see how we haven't blown ourselves up like 500 times over. Anyways, I feel like there must be something spiritual just because we're still here. Nothing as boring as knowing everything. Yeah. Humans do like our roller coasters and our excitement. And so maybe we did want to have like a live action role play where we forgot about our old self for a little while. I mean, why do people watch scary movies and exciting movies and all this stuff? Maybe we wanted to live in an exciting movie, and maybe that's what this is. And then as much as you say, well, why did I sign up for this? But I'm like, why do you watch movies that are all scary and spooky and stuff? Why do we even have that craving at all? Because we get bored, I guess. I don't know. Something to think about anyway. So, yeah, no, I've been trying to keep it to 2 hours because then it's automatically saved onto my Odyssey account. But plus this time I just don't have that many Mandelas. So that also is cutting it back a little. When I first started the Mandelas, there was 10 years of Mandelas to talk about because I didn't know about the Mandela for many, mostly caught up now. So mostly catching newer ones, and there's less to catch. I also just don't cover some stuff. There's so many changes that now I'm just bored with, like, another tiny little change in the words of a song. There's another little phrase in that song. And there's another bird with weird plumage, and it just kind of getting old. So I don't cover as many of the little ones as I used to. They were very exciting at first, but now there's just so many of the same. I enjoy the video game, but would prefer the cheat codes. Well, maybe that's part of the game, is to find the cheat codes. You know, maybe the Mandela is included the cheat codes. Maybe law of attraction is a cheat code. You know, the cheat codes might be there. So part of the excitement is looking for the cheat codes, right? Though, obtaining those suckers. Lone Eagle is still in a rough place. He had a live stream tonight, but was completely muted during it. Then he deleted it. He must have had technical difficulties then. Yeah. You know, we got to just try to help as many people as we can and hope that, you know, I think it's hard. It's been hard for a lot of people. Definitely. I don't think this switch has been super easy. I feel like I've kind of got over the hump. I'm hoping. You know, I've gotten healthier. I'm feeling better slowly. So hopefully others can also have that path. The demons or reptiles have all the cheat codes. I don't think they do. I think we have a lot of power, because if they could just make us do anything, I think they would. But they haven't been able to do that. So I don't think they have the power that some people fear they have. Kind of like, you know, demons and stuff, they try to fool you. They're flim-flam artists. They're scam artists. So they try to get you to do stuff by lying and scamming and flim-flamming. But I don't think they have that much power on their own other than to lie and flim-flam. I think the cheat code is basically realize your own power. You know, as much as we fear they're going to make us do this and they're going to make us do that, they don't end up making us do anything. In the end, I don't think. Has anyone heard of the Great Unconformity? I have never heard of the Great Unconformity. It sounds kind of cool. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I have not heard of it. Keep making small changes in my life. Make it what I want. Yeah, I think a lot of times baby steps. Don't give any event any energy, especially negative ones. I think you definitely don't want to get sucked into that. Cheat code is money and influence. You know, I think that's what they want you to think that cheat code is. I think that the cheat code is the way you give your attention to positive and negative things. I think that is the ultimate cheat code. And then you get what you need to have that done. So I think money is just a tool, and like any tool, it could be used for good or bad. But I think the cheat code is a little deeper. I think what goes on in your mind, emotions, and thoughts, I think, are the great programmer. All right, let's see what the Great Unconformity. Of the many unconformities, gaps observed in geological strata, the Great Unconformity is frequently applied to either the unconformity observed by James Hutton in 1787 at Sycamore Point, Scotland. The heck, I've never heard of this business. Okay, they're examples of where the contacts between sedimentary strata and other sedimentary or crystalline strata of greatly different ages, origins, and structures represent periods of geologic time sufficiently long to raise great... Wait, I don't even get it. I don't think I understand. So there are gaps in geological strata. I guess that don't make sense. Where everything got eroded away somehow. The Grand Canyon is Powell's unconformity. It's a regional unconformity that separates the Tonto group from the underlying faulted and tilted sedimentary rocks of the Grand Canyon supergroup and vertically foliated metamorphic. I don't know, man. I'm going to have to look into this more. None of this terminology is anything I've ever heard of. Frenchman Mountain exposes a sequence of Phanerozoic. What the heck is Phanerozoic? Phanerozoic strata, equivalent to those found in the Grand Canyon. At the base of this sequence, the great unconformity with the blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't really get it. The term great unconformity has been used to refer to anomalous concentrations of unconformities, including base nonconformities below the base of the Cambrian. Charles Walcott was among the first to note the phenomena, remarking in 1910, "I do not know of a case of proven conformity between the Cambrian and Precambrian Algonquian rocks. All the localities where the contact is sufficiently extensive or where fossils have been found in the basal Cambrian beds." Stated in another way, the Precambrian land surface was formed of sedimentary, eruptive, and crystalline rocks that did not in any known instance immediately precede in deposition or origin the Cambrian sediments. Everywhere there is a stratigraphic and time break between the known Precambrian rocks and Cambrian sediments. So there's no widely accepted explanation. One theory is a large glaciation event which took place in the Neo-Proterozoic, another term I've never heard. This is also when a significant glaciation event known as Snowball Earth occurred. Snowball Earth covered almost the entire planet with ice. When glaciers move, they drag on the road sediment away from the underlying rock. This would explain how a large section of rock was taken away from widespread areas around the same time. So I'm guessing then, I get the impression that it's just that there's like a sudden alteration in the terrain material that happened in a very short period of time, and they can't explain how it got from here to there. And so one theory is that something scraped off a bunch of and scrambled everything. And that's the great unconformity. I've never heard of that term. Obviously, it's in this timeline, it goes way back. I went to college. I took geology and all that stuff, and none of this was in there. Then I think the whole science is completely different in this timeline than anything I've saw. In fact, other people have been on here, but I've long suspected that a lot of even the epochs and stuff are different in this timeline than I remember. The great unconformity is missing thousands of millions of geological history of the Earth, like it was wiped clean. I don't remember Snowball Earth either. I do remember big ice ages, but there were still plenty of areas that weren't totally iced over. The great unconformity. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that though. Things are changing. That's all I can say. I don't know. It's a cool sounding word though, right? So money issues. Law of attraction is pretty complicated, but basically, if you concentrate on what you lack, this is the theory. If you concentrate on what you lack, you'll get more lack. If you concentrate on what you have, you get more of what you have. So the theory is that you learn to move your thoughts in a direction of concentrating on abundance, and then you get more abundance. And that's, so it sounds really simplistic. The issue is that it is not easy to change how you think, day to day, moment to moment, second to second. There's a lot of times when you probably your mind rattles on for hours with you barely even paying attention to a lot of the subtext that's going on in there. So changing that in a way that's significantly different than what you've historically done is no easy process. And that's why, although law of attraction sounds very simplistic, it really amounts to rehauling your whole personality in some ways, and not easy. I have been working on that for many years. I do feel that it does work. But you get a certain level, and then you kind of hit jam spots. You get kind of stuck. You work, it could be stuck for a while, and then so it's not like, just rocket launch into the top. It does seem that certain people naturally, maybe from their own natural personality plus maybe a more healthy upbringing, are better at it than others. But I suspect lots of infighting between the behind the scenes elite. Yes, I do think that they bring themselves down in the end, because the bad guys, there's no honor among thieves. They can't work together. So that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Since when are eggs the cause of sudden death? In what? Yes, Shari, that was hilarious. I actually did look into it. So this ridiculous thing going around where some scientists are saying that eggs can cause blood clots and blah blah blah. And then I actually went to the original article, and it's pretty weak. So the actual story is that eggs contain choline, which is an essential nutrient, I might add, that you must have. And choline is linked with increase in certain gut bacteria, and that this gut bacteria releases a chemical called TMAO, TMAO. And TMAO is correlated with certain increased chance of heart conditions. Okay, so you see this long chains, this correlated with this correlated, this correlated, and then you get down to this weak correlation with increased chances of heart. Now remember that in science, correlation does not imply causation. Just because two things happen together does not mean that one necessarily causes the other. Like, for instance, the sun rising and alarm clocks going off are correlated. That does not mean that the sun causes alarm clocks to go off, and it does not mean that alarm clocks cause the sun to rise. They just happen to be correlated for other reasons, like, humans need to go to work and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just because choline's correlated with this, which is correlated to this, which is correlated to this, which is correlated to this, does not mean that this thing at the end of the chain then actually causes heart attacks. Okay, that's ridiculous. And any scientist would roll over, and die on the ground like a dying cockroach if they read this, because any actual scientist knows this is complete horse hockey. But yet this kind of horrible crap science spreads around the mainstream media like you wouldn't believe. It's only gotten worse. It's always been that way, that media grabs science, completely mangles it, and makes a clickbaity article on it, but it's only gotten worse. So it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, eggs, you need choline to live. So cutting your choline, it's an essential nutrient. You want to consume choline. Now, I don't say consume mass ridiculous hordes of choline, but you need to have it. So the concept that somehow cutting your essential nutrient in order to cut back on certain gut bacteria that create TMAO that is correlated with this, that is ridiculous and stupid. You need choline. Eggs have choline. Choline is healthy. Eggs have a lot of other good stuff. I have heard a while back you would be way more healthy without eating eggs. Not by any science I've heard. Mayonnaise, now that might be another story. That's basically made out of soybean oil. Soybeans are toxic, especially in the levels that we eat mayonnaise. soybean oil in general is like in everything now. So it's an unnatural food. It's in everything to ridiculous amounts. So eggs, on the other hand, is a very natural food. Chickens are not laying eggs. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of interesting narrative, like what's going on with eggs. Is it a Mandela? Is it a deep state secret scam? Some rumor is that certain feeds, they cut the protein content and eggs, and hens stop laying eggs that were eating that particular meal. I don't know. Just more weirdness of the timeline. All right, anyways, I'm at 2:04, so I got to run. Thank you all. You know the storyline. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.